Doc had a very unusual experience with this morning. She did not expect this thing to work. And she sat down on the thing. Boy, did she have herself a jolt. I'll get her to tell you about it if I can see her somewhere. There she is. Let her sit for a second. Doc, come sit here and just tell them about your experience just for a moment. Yes, all of it. And I'm going to take a little break from a massage Claude while you tell them about this. Go ahead. See?
Okay, so it was about 4:15 this morning, and EJ was asking me to sit in this chair here, except it was over there. We'd been wondering some things, and so I said, okay, why don't you do this? And he told me how to hold the things, and and then he left. And honestly, I didn't think anything much was going to happen. I put myself into a deep, relaxed state, and it takes me about 3 or 4 breaths to do that. And I was sitting there, quietly, relaxed. And all of a sudden, this being appeared there, this woman. She was about 1.5 meters off the ground at first, and about 5 feet tall. Looked like an old woman. The word that came to mind was banshee, even though I don't really know what that is. Wasn't really a witch. It wasn't really a hag. She was wearing, well, I guess maybe at some point they were white clothes, but they looked like more like grayish, beigeish clothes. The hair was white, but only till here. It wasn't very long. And for some reason I started crying. By that I mean tears just rolled down my face. Not that many, just a few. And I was like, okay, what's this about? So I watched her move. And as she was in a forest setting. I'm like, okay, so there is this being, and it's being pulled in. And in the meantime, there had been some shivers every now and then, and my hands are a little tingly from holding these crystals. A little time goes by, maybe a half a minute. I watch her, and next thing I know, I'm looking over my shoulder. I mean, she's gone. I'm looking over my shoulder, and I am it. Like I'm looking over it, and it has that same gray thing. I'm looking down my legs, and it's this dress or whatever. I can't even see my feet, but I can see the forest floor. The sense I got is that she makes strange noises, or that the sounds she would make are not necessarily pleasant to listen to. There was the sense that I could make those sounds, but if I would, people would freak out for sure. In a kind of way, it was like, well, that's what it was anyway. And then some distraction happened around here, and then the intensity of feeling that as me was kind of a little bit more gone. And so a little while later, EJ comes out, and I tell him, and then it's like, well, is it over? Is it not? And we decide, well, let me just sit here a little longer. Couldn't really get the intensity of the, oh my God, she's really me. That was an amazing shift where at first I saw her, and then I was her. And she was in me. I'm not really necessarily fond of banshees, because I went online afterwards and looked it up, and it's like, oh my God, But for some reason, that must be one of my selves somewhere. She knew about potions and all things of the forest. She does not really communicate with the so-called alive people like humans all that much, but communicates with the beings from the spirit world much more easily, and that's where she's home. What else is there to say? Well, at some point it was just like, okay, this is it. And the whole thing didn't last more than, at the most, maybe 5 minutes, 5, 10. I mean, it didn't, maybe 10 minutes at the most. So, looking at the thing, I'm like, I didn't think much was going to happen except maybe some stuff that happens when I get into physical relaxation. But it's possible that if you're not used to this kind of thing, or if you have no experience with disembodied beings, it could freak somebody out to have that kind of experience. And an experienced guide at that point might be very useful. So, okay, I think I'm done. Okay.
Thank you for sharing that. That was very interesting. I watched it from in my office there. I appreciate that very much. That was very interesting. Remember, you're not voyaging anywhere. You're actually pulling something in. Rather than going there, you're pulling it into you. Yet, it feels like you're there. It feels as if you're there with the swamp woman.
At some point, definitely.
Yeah. So as you pull yourselves in, you own them. Now, you're gonna sit on this and hold these probes until justification. Justification is that point at which it becomes completely Meissnerized, which we'll talk about. It becomes Meissnerized, justified, and assimilated and balanced and harmonized and assimilated, actually, is what I mean to say.
The fact that it worked the way it did is a little mind-blowing, really. It turns out that the integration process actually continues, or at least in this case, is still continuing. It's mind-boggling that this would come up, and it adds a depth of understanding that I just couldn't have had before. How the pulling in of that particular alternate universe persona or personality is going to affect the homeworld personality or persona that is having to function here. How that will really affect it remains to be seen. One of the qualities of this, what we call swamp woman, is that she's incredibly peaceful. There are other qualities also, and I think this integration process is just not